All right, everyone, welcome to another installment of Alchemist Knits. This is going to be a breed study, and for this video, we're going to focus on the Jacob sheep breed. So Jacobs are one of my favorite breeds. They're referenced in the Bible, you know, Jacob who had the spotted sheep, that whole story. These are the sheep that reference that. So they generally have white fleeces with black, brown, lilac-y gray sort of spots throughout them. And they're also known for having multiple horns. So they can have, some of them have no horns, some have 2 horns, some have 4 horns. So if you see a big like 4-horned sheep skull or just a sheep that's a picture of one or one that's drawn that has 4 horns, it's more than likely a Jacob sheep. So a really cool breed of sheep, and they have a pretty wide range of how their fleeces can come out. They can be fairly primitive where it's coarser and longer and like better for rugs. And then they can be very, very fine and crimpy and make really soft next to skin type of items. So fortunately, the one that we're going to be working with today is closer to that softer end of things of we'll be able to wear it next to skin because it is a very soft fleece. So the fleece that I got is from a Jacob ewe, so a female sheep, named Opal. And she is white with black spots, and she came from Menagerie Meadows Farm. Let me see if I have their little card. I do. Okay. So they sent a little card with a little, you know, thank you and all of that. But the coolest part of it is the front. I'm like, oh, is that like a Rorschach? Like, what are we... It's got a cool line thing going on. And then I'm like, wait a second. You open it up. That's a little Jacob sheep. What a cool idea for a card. So I just thought that was fun. And I like that they wrote me a handwritten note for it. Like that's service. So that's what we're going to be exploring in this video. Let's walk through the process real quick of what you're going to see in this video. So I wrote it all down. We're going to start off with a video of me opening up the fleece so you get to see what it looks like. And then we're going to skirt away part of it. Skirting is where you take away the mucky bits. So oftentimes at the hind part of the leg where it'll be like muddy or poopy or something. Any sections that have a lot of VM, which is like vegetable matter, little bits of hay, seeds, whatever. Sometimes you get a lot of that around the neck. So we're going to walk through that, skirt it, and then we're going to go through some lock samples from throughout the fleece. So sometimes with sheep, and it was present in this fleece, you will have a bit of a difference in, let's say the hind end will have like longer, sometimes a bit coarser sections of fleece, and then towards the upper part, shoulders and stuff, you will have generally finer fleece. And then also towards the belly will be coarser and up towards the back will be finer. So we're going to look at and compare some locks that we pull out from various parts of the fleece. Then we're going to divide the wool by color. So we have white parts and black parts, and then we also have parts that are kind of locks that are partially white and partially black. And so those are going to go in their own section. Because I had an idea when I first started this fleece of how I wanted it to go. But we'll see later in the video, I change directions and I find a pattern that I like and I spin more towards that than what I originally had planned. So you'll also get to see in real time plans change as you're processing the fleece sometimes. So after we divide the wool up, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that I like to do for flicking open a fleece. So if it's not just a simple fleece that you can just pick open the locks and let some of the VM fall out and then you can just card it. With this fleece, it had some stuff that we had to go through some extra steps, so I'll talk about that. And then at the very end, we're going to get into, I'm going to show you all of the finished skeins that I spun up from the entire fleece. We processed the whole fleece. And we're going to get into kind of some nitty-gritty details of how I did the spin. Because there was a bit of color planning and separating bats out, and so we'll talk through all of that, and then at the very end you get to see some pictures and video of the finished skeins. So if you're ready, let's hop into it. Let's go ahead and open up this fleece and see what we've got. Okay, the wool is washed, mostly dried, and I thought we would hop on here and take a look at the fleece and all the parts of it. Jacob fleeces are a lot of fun for me, not just because of the spots, but also because of the variation in the fleece. So this part here is closer to the hind end, the breech, the back part of the fleece. And we've got, let's get a bit of a sample. I want a little bit of the dark stuff. And some of these, this has got a long staple length too. It's got a lot of VM in it, as you can see. But I'm hoping that just comes out. This is still a tiny bit damp, but that's okay. I'm hoping it comes out just as we pick it. So, I wore a dark shirt today for the light fleece, but yeah, so there's that one. And then let's get, I want to get a nice looking, very intact. This one looks pretty good. Oh. And the staple length on this one is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about half this. So this is from, look at this. That is long. This is from the farther back half-ish of the fleece of the breech side. We've got a little bit of crimp. Not a whole lot. It's going to be nice and poofy, I think. So that's a good look. And it's dropping little bits of stuff everywhere. So that's more the back end. This is more towards the neck head area. There is going to be a lot more VM around the neck usually just because of the way they like to eat. And oftentimes if you have a feeder, they'll get their head in there and they'll get stuff in the neck. But this is, let's get a little sample of this. This one's a little bit more damp than the other one is, but I was really impatient. Okay, so we've got a very similar looking piece. This one's got a bit more crimp in it, which I thought was interesting of the stuff closer to the head. Let's see if we can get, there's some pieces in here that have a good bit of crimp to them. This one's got a lot more crimp. You can kind of see through it a bit. A lot more elasticity than the back part of the fleece. Oh, here we go. Let's see if we can get this guy. Yeah, like look at that. Look at what we got going on here. And there's also a lot more dark spots in this part of the fleece. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at. An interesting, let's see, do we still have, yeah, let's compare them. Okay, so we've got the back parts and the front parts. I don't know the best way to do this. the length is a little bit different, a little bit longer on the back. That's okay. So I'm thinking we could, some people like to just blend the whole thing together, and so it would make like a pretty browny gray kind of color. Yeah, because it's got brown on the tips here, and it's very, some parts look black, some parts look brown. So it'd probably come out like a medium light, probably a lighter brown color. But I think what we're going to do with this one is we're going to keep like wools together. So we're going to separate out the darks and the lights from each other. And we're also going to separate a bit by length, because that's a pretty substantial difference. Look at that. So I'm gonna separate them out by length as well. And just, this feels like it has a bit more crimp to it than this does. And then we're going to explore what kinds of different yarns we get from one singular fleece. We should be getting a lot of yarn out of this one. I didn't weigh it before. I'm guessing it's probably around 5 pounds. I'll weigh it once everything is dry. I also have an entire other fleece we're going to go through too. So once all of it's dry, I have the last portion of it to wash, and then once it's all dry, we'll look at all of it, and then we'll split it all out, and then we'll card it up, and then we'll spin it. All right. So today we are going to go through this Jacob fleece here, and we're going to separate it out into, we're separating it by length, staple length, and color. So we've got this random, we've got all kinds of lengths in here. All right, and some of these are going to be like gray because we have like stripes of brown in the lock, or black. So we're just, maybe that'll be its own pile. But yeah, I kind of want to have like some solid black yarn, some solid white yarn, and then some mixed yarn. So we have some options for whatever projects we want to do in the future. So let's do this real quick. I'm going to fast forward this part. So we've got some piles here. We've got some of the longer staples, dark, and you can see there's some white in here. I'm going to go through as we're carding and just try to take out as much of that white as we can. So that's the long one. This is the long mixed, so if it's just too ingrained in each other, like you've got black and white mixed together in a single one, I'm not going to try and finagle that out. So that'll be the mixed one. And then we've got the shorter staple mixed one, the shorter staple dark. What is this? Just add here. And then we've got the solid white, or as solid as we can get it. There's a couple little black spots in here, but that's okay. So I don't know that we're going to get a solid white yarn. Maybe, we'll see. It might be a very, very light gray, which I am very, very okay with. So now that we've got it separated out, we're going to put each of these separate parts into different bags so I can process them a batch at a time. And let's see how much yarn we get out of all of this. I should have weighed it. I think it's about 5 pounds. But yeah, we've got our 5 different piles here. We're going to pick it, card it, spin it, and then make something out of it. Look at this. It's beautiful. It's going to be very fluffy. Y'all, I am so excited about this fleece. So when we first washed it, we looked at the fleece. It looks beautiful. Like, it's got good staple length. It's got good crimp. It's got good fluff. It's everything you'd want in a fleece. And so we wash it and we take it. Okay, here is some This is one of the fluffier bits. So we can see here's a little second cut right there. And I mean, it looks pretty good. But we can't just run this through the carder. When we look closely at it, there's some second cuts on the cut end, and then the outer end is a little bit fried. So it does break off. The tips do break off. So for this kind of fleece, it's a lot more work, but you end up with a really, really pretty bat and pretty yarn. So I like to take, this is a little carder that came with the drum carder I have, and it's just the right size. It's kind of small. It's not like my big hand carders, and I just like to go over both ends. I don't know if you saw it, but it's also got some VM in it. And some places have a lot of VM, and this is also a very helpful technique for if you have a lot of VM in your fleece. So we're just going to brush out and get out all the little second cuts, and it also brushes out the VM that's in it. So now this was the cut end. It's nice and smoothed out. We've got some junk in there, and now we're going to flip it over, and I kind of like to twist it a little bit. Let's see, maybe doing it this way. Very gently. See, it just breaks right off. And now we don't have that burnt tip anymore. We don't have the second cuts anymore, and look at that. And you get all of this beautiful fluff. Now this isn't as easy as like a baby doll where all you have to do is pick it. And some fleeces are this way. You just have to pick them open, a little bit of VM falls out, and you're good to go. Super fast. But something like this, here we go. Whoop. Okay, so we've got, it's a little crispy up there. I don't see any second cuts on here, but it's got a lot of VM in it as well. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe. Focus on there. It's got a lot of VM in this little part here. And I also suggest wearing an apron because it is going to make a mess. And this is also why we're doing it outside. I started off doing this inside, and I was having to vacuum like every 10 minutes because it was just all the little bits of hay were falling out all over the place. So, see? So you will lose a bit of length with this, which is why this generally works best if you already have a fleece that has a nice solid staple length of like 4 or 5 inches to begin with. But then look at that. It's beautiful. And then you get this little bit of junk. And I mean, you are going to get a lot of waste with this type of fleece. But, I mean, for me, that's okay because it's really, really pretty. So, yeah, sometimes you run into things like that where it's just like, oh, there's so much VM in here, or there's some little burnt tips on them. Like, what do I do? Honestly, just brushing them out like this, while it's going to take a lot longer, you're going to end up with a much prettier end product than if you just try to pick something like this open. And it's got those brittle tips, and it's got second cuts, and it's got the VM. But if you do a little extra something with it, then, you know, this extra step is going to make such a huge difference in the final product. So I just wanted to highlight that because this is a perfect fleece to show off all of those things. You've got your slightly brittle tips, you have like some second cuts in here, and you have some VM. So perfect fleece for showing this sort of stuff off. All right. I'm going to jump out of here and we're going to jump back into the next part. I'll see ya. Okay, so we started off with a certain idea. You saw me carding the white and black together to make some gray bats, and then I started spinning that, which is this right here. So we've got this pretty blend that forms this gray yarn, so it looks kind of like this first one I spun. This one here is 256 yards of like DK weight. Pretty gray Jacob wool. Love it. It ended up weighing, let me get my notes over here. Ended up weighing 5.6 ounces. So this is a pretty stonky skein. And then I started spinning what you just saw me spinning. I started on this, and then I had a couple of bats of that already carded up. And then I had an idea. So I have been wanting to make the Miss Arena tee, and I have this yarn for it already. It's Malabrigo Makita. It's like the mini version of Mecca, I think. So it's a single ply, merino, orange with purple spots. And I've been wanting to use this for the color work in the tee, but I couldn't find a yarn for the body that I liked at any of my local yarn stores. And so I switched gears with the Jacob and decided to do a spin for the body, and I wanted it to be a gradient. Like this just, it came to me after I saw, I can't remember who it was, but somebody who dyes yarn. I saw their version on Instagram, which I'll put here, and I loved the fade effect of it, the gradient fade. So I decided what a perfect way to showcase the gradient in a Jacob fleece, because I kind of wanted to do that anyway, like a gradient or keeping them separate or just really showcasing the span of color in a Jacob fleece and really highlight that. So I paused on that and I started spinning as thin as I could go, like almost lace weight singles. It is the thinnest I have ever spun. And I started off with the white one. And I figured it would be fun, instead of just doing a solid color, to add some sari silk to it. So we've got the purple in here. It's like a dark purple sari silk, so it has some flecks of other colors, but the predominant color is a dark purple. And I wanted it to fade from a dark purple on the white to orange on the black. This isn't like a true black. It's very, very close. It's like a brownie type of black, but pretty close to a black. So these are the two ends of the spectrum. I started off with this one, and then I spun this one, and then the gradient fade started kicking in. So I had the colors already done from this. This was going to be my mid-tone, and that was kind of my baseline for right in the middle. So I took some of that, and I blended it with the white to make a lighter gray, which we have in here. And so I made, I think, 5 different colors. So I had the white, light gray, mid gray, dark gray, then the black. And so after I finished up with each bat, with each grouping of bats, like there were multiple bats per skein, I would rip off about 1/4 of the bat, and I would start the next one with that. So you will see, here we go. You can see there is some white in there. And so I started off spinning just the solid white with the purple flecks. And then it moved into the light gray on here. And then I went all the way through with the light gray. And then I plied them on themselves. So each bobbin was plied on itself. It was a singular skein. And so the effect that you get is that you have one white strand, because that's the first one you do, and then it goes mid-grade all the way down and then back up. And so you're going to ply the white and the light gray, together, and then eventually that turns into a light gray and a light gray together. And so that's how you get that gradient with it. And then for the next skein, this one's the smallest one. This one, I think, is the one I took a picture of, the gradient in it of going from the light gray to the mid gray. And then I don't think I used any of the dark gray in here. So this is light gray to mid gray. So you'll see there's kind of some heathering going on there. And then the next skein, you can see we started off with the mid gray. Or no, actually this is the light gray. Yes. So is this mid gray? Yes, okay, I remember now. So it was the mid gray, and here is this. And then I'll show here, I did the one piece of the mid gray, so like a quarter of the bat. I pretty much broke them up into like quarters or eighths, something like that. And then, so I would strip them, and then I would lengthen them out, kind of pre-drafted, and that really helped with getting the thinness in the fiber, I realized. So I went mid-gray, and then 2 of the dark grays, and then 4 of the blacks, and then 2 more of the dark grays. And so it starts off with a ply, because you're doing it on itself. You're doing a ply of the mid-gray and a ply of the dark gray together. And that's going for a bit, and eventually it turns into ply a dark gray. And then eventually the black comes in, and so you have a ply of the dark gray and a ply of black, and then eventually it turns into a ply of the black and a ply of the black. So this one has the most transitions in it. It's got a lot going on. And so at the end of this, you get to a strand of the black and a strand of the black, which then goes into the solid black. And I think for this one, there was the last bit that I spun on here had a bit of white in it. So it's kind of got that essence of the dark gray, but it's darker than the dark gray because it's just a few little bloops of like little strands throughout of the white. And so it's not like the solid in the first part of this yarn. But then it transitions into like a solid black yarn with the orange. And also so this has got all the orange. So yeah, the interesting thing about this one, the mid-gray, is that this is where we transition from the purple sari silk to the orange sari silk. So I did 1/4 of it in the purple, the mid-gray with purple, and then the rest of it was orange, so that you have that transition of both the orange and purple. So you have an orange in one ply and a purple in the other ply, and then it transitions into the full orange to get to here with the black with orange sari silk. So there's both the transition of the white to black and the purple sari silk to the orange sari silk going on in this yarn. It required a lot of like planning and laying out and figuring out, but we finally got there. So in the end of things, all of these skeins, I pulled this one out. I should probably put it back. All of these end up being 12.8 ounces, which if we're going with like a heavy fingering weight, which I think this is about a heavy fingering weight, I have a yards per pound calculator thing, and so I'm guessing that we ended up with around 1,200 yards of this, because obviously I don't want to count this. It seems like a real pain. So I'm guesstimating we have about 1,200 yards of all of this yarn together. The Miss Serena T calls for the size 4, which is what I'm wanting to make, it calls for about 700 yards of the main color. So that gives us some wiggle room. It is a crop tee, and so that gives us room to lengthen it. And I could also, I don't know if I could make a full long sleeve with it, but maybe a longer sleeve if I wanted to. I'm going to have to see how long the body is. I'm fine if it just ends up being a tee with a longer body. I just want to utilize all of the yarn and do the full gradient is what I'm going for. So that's what we have. All of this beautiful Jacob fleece. And what a way to showcase, like, none of this is dyed. It is the natural colors with sari silk added in. So we did it. We spun up all of the yarn. So in total, we have 19.8 ounces of yarn. So that includes this that I spun, it includes this big boy, and it includes what's on the bobbin. This was 1.4 ounces of fiber on the bobbin. I'll probably ply this with the other Jacob fleece that I have. It's washing right now. So I might just finish this up, this whole bobbin, with the rest of that fleece and have like a cool hybrid, half opal, half emerald skein. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So that's the game plan with that, I think. And yeah, that's the entire fleece. That's everything that we've got. So in all, about 1.25 pounds of usable fiber. There was a lot of waste with this one, which is fine because the fiber came out absolutely beautifully. And the total cost for the fleece, I think I paid $30 for it, plus shipping, so maybe like $35, $40 for the whole fleece. So for all this yarn, that's a good deal. So, yeah, there we go. We did it. We did the fleece. We did the thing. So, thanks for joining me on this fun journey. If you like this kind of content of going through from the raw fleece through the whole process of making a finished yarn, like this video, comment on it. Don't forget to subscribe because that'll let YouTube know that people like watching fleece to finished object or fleece to finished yarn, and more people can see it, because I think this is something that's underrepresented in the YouTube community. So yeah, let me know what you think, and thanks for joining along. I guess I'll see ya.